Greetings! Welcome to my Kokoro guide tutorial. I'm Force of Nature representing top tier tips, and I welcome you to your prime spot for tips and tricks to help you level up at Dead or Alive 5. Alright, right here we have Kokoro, or more specifically, Detective Kokoro, who's going to be just investigating how she kicks ass. So right now, everyone's favorite geisha and half-sister of the ever so powerful and beautiful Helena will be the focus of this session. Alright, so let's just give a little bit of a background on Kokoro. Alright, from a gameplay standpoint, I'll just let you know one of the biggest attributes of her is that she is arguably one of the safest characters in the game. So what that means is that if she gets a lot of her attacks blocked or defended against, she will be less likely to be punished than other characters, meaning that she has probably the highest quantity of safe strings and safe strikes, safe pokes, so there's usually relatively less risk for throwing something on someone's block than other characters, so that is one thing that is good to know. Other attributes and strengths of Kokoro is that she does have a really good stun game. She has a good throw reset game, which you'll see with her kind of Heichu throws, which kind of look like that. And she also has solid close range pressure, which is also helped by the fact that she can generally pressure most characters safely due to her safe pokes and strings and whatnot. So just to let you know right now, overall, Kokoro is a rushdown character who specializes in safe offensive pressure. Although Kokoro is not necessarily complete 100% rushdown or anything, like she's not just basically kind of a get in opponent's face and like mash buttons kind of thing. Although I mean, you could attempt that style, but usually what I find to be a good way to work Kokoro is actually hover a bit around mid-range and take an opportunity to pounce an opponent when they give you an opening, or if they like whiff something or they make a misstep, then you use that as an opportunity to get in on your opponent. Alright, so right now basically I'd say that Kokoro is one of these characters who, before you really should like go on and like do anything else with her, I definitely kind of recommend looking at her commander list. So let's take a look. Characters like, well, there's other ones like Hitomi, Helena, Christie. I mean, basically string-heavy characters. Those are the type of characters I heavily do recommend looking at their moveset, and Kokoro is no exception. Alright, as you can see right here, if you look at the top left corner, Kokoro has about 116 moves, which is slightly above average, so I mean, it's a fairly prolific moveset. Alright, so essentially just kind of go through her strings, just get really accustomed to them. I mean, from a standard execution standpoint, it's not necessarily difficult, I'd say. It's probably similar to around the Hitomi level in terms of execution. But the main things I want you to look out for is anything where Kokoro goes into kind of what her Heichu stance, which is usually shown by a P plus K input, such as like on this string right here, which is Heichu Daishu. She can go into like a bit of a Heichu stance. So just to let you know, from her Heichu stance, she does have like some multiple options. She's got a low punch, got a mid punch, which also can be a +2 guard break if used on an opponent's block, and she also has a high punch, which can cause a light stun. Aside from the Heichu transitions, another thing also I want you to look out for when going through her strings are any of her what I call string throws or embedded throws within her strings. Right here you have one which has her, probably the most common one, her PPT. Right here is a common string throws. She she has like basically a whole bunch of them, so you have to kind of like look around to be able to find them. So, but other than that, going through her strings is mostly familiarity. But yeah, pay attention to those Heichu transition and those string throws. All right, before I go on, I just want to throw out that small little disclaimer that if I end up saying anything or describe any terms in this tutorial that you don't understand or don't know, feel free to look at some of my other tutorial videos to see if you can end up finding any assistance to your queries that you may have. So I mean, so yeah, so I may end up just blitzing through some sections, so yeah, just keep that in mind. Anyways, let's go over Kokoro's close range game right now. So once you are familiar with her strings from command training, when you end up just going to the free training and looking her over, what I can recommend right now is turning on her move list. You can do that right here. Put on the left side for the left character, and the right side would do obviously the right character, who is Ione right now. So right now there you can see all her strings. The strings I would recommend just getting familiar with at first are anything coming off of like her P string. Like you saw before that she has things like PPT, PP6P, PP2K, which also has a stance transition. There's also PPP if you so desire, although that's high, but is safe on, I think it's safe on block with only -3. I mean, yeah, I mean, if you go through a lot of random strings with Kokoro, you're gonna find a lot of light, like single-digit negatives. So anything from like -6, 7 onwards is usually like okay on block and not too bad. But something like a -3 is usually quite good. Other than the PP string, another string to get a little familiar with is just their like 6B string. It doesn't have as much variability, but it does have a good 6 PPP, which is a mid-high, mid-punch string, which is only like -3 on block. It's quite delayable. The second hit is a high tracking move, so it's a pretty nice string. She also has 6B, which also ends with a bit of a stun. And an actual neat thing I could show you right now is Kokoro's, show the details. Her 4 PP is a frame trap. It's only when you do 2. When you do the first one, it's -9, and I think if you do 3, well, it's -3, and if you do all 4, it's -10. You also have a mid-punch fault, which is -7, which means you can't get punished by forward 7-frame throws, only by like neutral throws or 6-frame throws. So yeah, so with this string, you're only 0, so that means that you can pretty much, against almost any opponent, except for opponents that have 9-frame jabs, 11-frame mids, or stuff like that, you could pretty much almost always attack afterwards. It's just to let you know right now with Kokoro, what you're working with is your 10-frame jab, 12-frame mid-punch, and you got your 13-frame low, which I think is it's a 0 on normal hits, which is perfectly respectable. She's got a 15-frame high kick, and I think her mid-kicks come in, well, a couple of her faster mid-kicks coming in about 15 frames. Like, I'll just let you know, something like 6KP is actually a pretty decent string, fairly delayable. 3K is also really good because you have the like a 3K 4K, which is only -5 on block. It does leave you back turn, so you can scoot away a bit when you throw out. So this move is indeed safe from punishment. You have a high tracking move, only -7. So I mean, just a lot of single-digit negatives with Kokoro. Also, going on, if you want a good low poke to just, well, chuck out at your opponent, I really like the 1K string. 1KK is a low kick, mid kick. Has like, I think, a bunch of follow-ups. There you got that safe back kick again. And you got your high track move, so it's a pretty It's a pretty versatile string. So and of course you can just poke with 1K. It's perfectly fine. What, like, kind of around the edge, around like mid-range. It's fine. It's like a mid-range poke. But I really do like strings that go low-mid, because it makes it a bit trickier for the opponent to defend against. So the 1K string is a good one to keep in mind. Kokoro has a mild mix-up off of our 2K. So this is just 2KP, which I think is only like -6 on block, so it's a pretty safe string. And it's another way for her to access her kind of string throw mix-ups. It's the same as like, it's similar to like 4K, 4PK. It's the same thing. So right there, so this is another thing you can keep in mind also when you're trying to explore different ways to implement her string throws, or just looking for her string throws, period. So yeah, so if you want another low poke along with 1K, 2K is fine. As for your go-to high crush, what I recommend is 2H plus K right here. Right here, I think it's got a couple follow-ups. 2H plus K P, 2H plus K K, and I think it's got a, yes, it has your stance transition. So yeah, this move is it's like it's a 16 frame low kick, which is like a instant high crush. So anytime you have to go under a high, you can do this. If you want to be extra disrespectful, or if you can get a read on your opponent, you can use her 3-3 P plus K, which is her go-to high crush launcher. Get a small juggler or whatever right after. An interesting thing also to keep note of is Kokoro's 6-6P. Right here, if you do it like in point blank range, it has close hit properties, so it ends up doing like additional damage. So normally it would do about 24 damage. If you do it like in point blank range, it gives you 150% extra damage, which makes it do 36 damage, which for a 14 frame move, that's actually only like -4 on block. Yeah, it's only -4 on block is actually pretty sweet. If you actually, for instance, have like a -5, like let's say -5, -4, -3, or any of those kind of numbers, usually an option you could just do right after it is just to do a little fuzzy guard. Just a reminder, it's 3-3 block like this, so after you do this, it gets blocked, you can do like a little quick fuzzy guard. So I mean, right there obviously would be the safe option, but at -4 the opponent can't punish it at all, so the best they can do to you is try and like pressure, is run a mix-up on you and pressure you back, but I'll just let you know that that 6-6P is pretty much, I'll just say right out now, this is Kokoro's sexiest move. Like this right here, this right here is pretty much the reason why I would play Kokoro. Just this elbow right here is like this move right here is like, it's pretty much a, it's pretty much sums up Kokoro. Just get in there and run an elbow. So I mean, get yourself really acquainted with this move. All right, if you do end up getting a knockdown, I'll just go over a couple go-to options if you end up like knocking an opponent over. I'm not sure of a really good kind of random string to knock someone over, so I'll just show you what the move is right now. It's 2 P plus K. So if you get a knockdown that leaves the opponent like close by, stomp on their ass with a 2 P plus K. It's not really that unsafe if I remember correctly. Yeah, -8, which isn't horrible, but so you can't really just necessarily throw it out willy-nilly, but anytime you get a knockdown, you know your opponent's gonna lie down, then just stomp on their ass. There we go, just do that. If you end up doing just one and it leaves you back turn, you can also force tech with back turn 2K, which looks like for 2H plus K. So stompy stompy. So yeah, right here. So this is your go-to force tech Oki options. Alright, so if you're just moving like a bit further out, so now moving on from close range, you're going on to like about around mid-range. As you could probably guess, your go-to move is going to be 6-6P. So right here, this right here is your go-to get-in move. Alright, you can also use her 6-6P plus K string, which goes into her Heichu stance. So yeah, you can also use that, but of course when in doubt, just 6-6P. Another option, if you're folk going to want to do a little keep out, a move you can use right here is quarter circle back P, which is a nice little blast back move, which is it's a 0 on block, or it's a neutral on guard break, so which is perfectly fine. I mean, yeah, you can't pressure with it, but it's or I should say you can't guard pressure someone with it, but you can. It's really nice for defensive pressure or keep out pressure. And if an opponent were, say, to whiff something in front of you, you have your 1P plus K, which is fully chargeable, and I think you get additional damage, and it becomes a positive. It actually becomes a positive. It becomes a positive guard break, which I think may have follow-ups. I just have to check to make sure. Yes, you get plus 19, so yeah, you get free elbows. Look at that. With that said, yeah, you're not going to really get many opportunities for your opponent to actually. You're not going to get any opportunities for your opponent to actually just let you block this. But if you're like at a wall or something, then you get a free 6-6P, which is for a free. So yeah, that's pretty handy. Another move you can use if an opponent ends up whiffing something from around mid-range is your 2-3-6P. Which also gives you a lot of advantage. So right there you get plus 35. So you can use this and just dash and get what. And you can probably guess what you can do. Just more elbows. You can also use 3K, 4K if you want to do like a setup, like a kind of back turn mix up while your opponent is in red stun. Yeah, so you can get a little creative that, because with plus 35, that's a lot of advantage. So you could you obviously get a time in to get in a little dash and work that elbow game. But of course, right now, if you have been paying attention and noticing, every move I've pretty much been doing for mid range so far is a mid punch. So yeah, so for all these moves, you have to be a bit careful with them, because obviously when you're at mid range, your opponent's gonna be looking out for a mid punch. So you're gonna have to be kind of cautious of how your opponent is acting during the neutral game and not get mid punch held. So that's why a couple other pokes I can recommend is one of my personal favorites, your 1K string, but also from mid-range, you also have a lot of range on your 1P string. Even though I don't like this string as much as 1K, because it goes low, high. You can end it with a mid-punch or a low punch, or you can even go for like a throw attempt. But for that, I just like using 1P as like it's just a little poke. Like the main reason you use 1P is just because it reaches further than 1K. So if you can reach, go for 1K as your low poke. So you can use this to mix up from all the massive amount of mid punches. I mean, another character's got a lot of mid punches is Helena, so I guess it's probably something that just runs in the family. So yeah, I just call it mid punch-itis. From hovering around mid-range, you can also use a couple mid-kicks too. Like as you can probably guess, I like the 3K, using 3Ks to poke, because you have your mid-kick follow-up and your high follow-up. So I mean, 3K is perfectly fine at mid-range. Also, and like I also said earlier, if you can get the range right, 6K P is fine also. It's a nice stun, and even can launch if you extend the threshold. So yeah, you can play around with that also. All right, now I'm just gonna be going onto tracking moves. For Kokoro, she doesn't really have that much in the way of tracking moves. I'll say right now, one of her biggest weaknesses is that she's kind of lacking in pure tracking moves. She definitely has ways to deal with it, but so I'll just get the tracking moves out of the way right now, or some common ones. The most common one right now is your H plus K, your big, high sweeping kick. You also have 3KK, where the second hit's pretty much the same thing. You have 6 PP. Remember, the second hit's a tracking high. You can also use 4-6 PP. The second hit is tracking, so that's nice. You can use that from around mid-range too, if you like. But the most common way to deal with tracking is string throws. You know what? Let's just go over her throw game right now. Alright, for Kokoro, her throw game is pretty standard. There isn't really anything special about her standard throw games. However, there are a couple throws to pay attention to. Alright, her most commonly used throw aside from her string throws would be her quarter circle back T throw, which does have a string combo right there. So I mean, you can practice that one a bit right there. Because what it is after quarter circle T, you have your 4T, then 4-6T, so that throw right there is also another reason why people like to play Kokoro, because you can never really get tired of that throw. I'm just messing up a bit now, but yeah, just that right there gets you, if you get this throw completely, you get 62 damage, and it's completely unbreakable. So the only way how it drops is if you drop the input. Another thing also is if you just get the very first part, it leaves you at neutral, but I'm not really a huge fan of Kokoro's back turn game, but if you can find anything with that, then sure, go for it, but just to let you know, you're at 0. If you only get the 2 hits, then yeah, it knocks the opponent over. So yeah, you generally would want the full throw right there. It's quick. And it's knocks the opponent back, you get a wall slam, stuff like that. But right now, I'll just go over the string throws a little bit. Alright, with this throw, it's about, should be I think about it's I9 and leaves you at plus 11, and of course you have your follow-ups. So with this throw, the most common thing you want to do is try and just find strings and find ways to do it. So as you see, this throw is both used to open up a defending opponent and to catch people that sidestep. So yeah, another thing also I'll let you know about the string throw is that it's actually pretty much Kokoro's. It's pretty much a stance. See, it's pretty much is her Heichu stance. So it's kind of neat. So if you want around mid-range, you can kind of control space by doing this. If the opponent runs at you, just hit them with people's kick. And if you want to be devious, you can end up just going for the quarter circle T afterwards. So I mean, right there you can enforce your mix-up. What I usually recommend using the most is the down punch and the mid punch, just for to get along a little mix-up there. A couple other throws of note is 4T, which gives you just +8 and a back turn mix-up. Can't get anything guaranteed off it, but you can. It's pretty much the closest thing that Kokoro has to not necessarily like a vortex throw, but it's also a side switch throw, so you can use that too if you just at least want to get a little damage each time you throw the opponent. Another throw also to take note of is her 1T for against a crouching opponent. This one gives you around, I think, like plus 20. Like, it gives you actually a fair bit of advantage. Yeah, plus 20. So after that, you can get a critical burst setup if you want. So yeah, so stuff like 6KP, you can like do that right after. Take note that, yeah, technically the follow-up wouldn't be guaranteed. I mean, it is holdable, but you do get pretty much get like a stun mix-up. Another thing also to keep note is for Kokoro's, she actually can get her Heichu throw, or her like reset throw from her sidestep. The input is just sidestep then P throw, or PT. It's kind of neat though, because you remember that you can also, if you whiff it, well, if you whiff it, you can also use it as like kind of like a stance. So let's see if I can just show it right now. Yes, you can use your stance. You can use your stance moves too if you whiff it. If I can get it right. Anyway, but yeah, you get the idea. All right, so right now, just gonna go on to her hold game. Let's say overall, her hold game isn't really that remarkable. A big thing to know is that she does have some of her holds do kind of knock the opponent back a fair bit, like her, I think like her low kick hold or mid punch hold, I think do. So I'll just have the opponent just do random strikes. So right there is like the mid punch, and her like low kick. Those kind of holds can knock the opponent back. But the one I want you to actually pay attention to is her high kick hold, which actually is actually deceptively tricky to combo off. Alright, off this one, I honestly just recommend maybe doing just do 9P and like 4 PPP, because the other juggles, like there's one in the combo challenge you can also practice, but it's hard to like pretty much just do this on reaction, because you have to pretty much fully be expecting the high kick. So I would say just keep it simple and just do 9P and 4 PPP. Yeah, so it is easy to drop it, so you do have to be a bit careful about that. All right, a couple other things to keep note for Kokoro's defensive game is she has a mid punch sabaki and high sabaki. All right, for these techniques, what a sabaki means is it's an attack that also can defend against mid punches. So if you end up doing this through an opponent's mid punch, you'll end up sabaki in it. This right here is a high sabaki. And you can, if you look really fast at the type part of the move details, you can end up seeing it should say grab for hold very fast. So you can check the frames there, and the initial frames to the left let you know when the sabaki starts. The second one would be and how active it is, and the third one would be the recovery leading into the actual strike. So that's why the numbers can seem a little deceptive, why it says your attack comes out in 2 frames, because that's the first few numbers are just for the sabaki. So yeah, I mean, in terms of defensive tools, Kokoro is a little bare on that end, but it is nice to know that she has a couple tools to help out in that matter. Also let you know her 7P is also her critical burst and has follow-ups, including a Heichu throw right there, as you saw. So yeah, that is pretty neat. Alright, I'll just show you a little bit, basically just what to just do at a wall. Alright, just let you know her go-to wall slam is 6-6P. You can also do like 3K, but you have to do them on counter hit, I think. Or moves like K, but 6-6P is on both normal hit and counter hit, and of course, if you do it right in the opponent's face, you can get close hit also for some really juicy damage. So if you do get a wall slam, I just recommend doing, after the wall slam, 9P, then 6P, PP. Okay, so I'll just show you now a quick critical burst juggle. Alright, what I just did right now, after you got your critical burst with your 7P, so I just do 7K, then from there you do back turn P, 6P, P, then 4P, P, P, P. Alright, so anyways, that is it for now. Just let you know some things to practice with Kokoro. The biggest thing to practice is just get used to where all her string throws are. I mean, if you need to, you can have the moveset to help you out a bit. Wherever you see that T in there, like I'm using 4KT, so try and look for different string throws, so because you want those and stuff, and also like remember the Heichu transition, stuff like that. You want those, you just kind of like want to get those down, so yeah. And also get used to finding creative ways to use her 236T throw too, and also, you'd probably have, for her hold game, I would actually recommend probably putting a bit of time into just getting used to doing some juggles off of the high kick hold, because the thing that makes it weird is that it's just that the time from when the hold connects to when you have to do a fall, let's say with like after the high hold, then 9P, the timing is really tight. You have to do it like pretty much right away or the combo will drop. So that's another thing that you can also take a look at. Alright, so I'm just gonna finish up right here. Just let you know if you have any questions about anything related to DOA, this tutorial, or just any like related questions about anything, feel free to contact me on Free Step Dodge, my YouTube, or Twitter or Twitch, any of those places. So yeah, you can look up Force of Nature on freestepdodge.com. Also, feel free to look at any of my other character guides just to get a nice little feel of the cast. And also, don't forget to rate and subscribe. And feel free to leave a comment to let me know how things are going, how I'm doing, if there's any character you would also like to have looked at. Because if we can have the whole cast looked at, that would be pretty damn awesome. But anyways, this is Force of Nature signing off. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Top Tier Tips.